Hello everybody, and I'm delighted to say, after a week's hiatus, Creator Series is back for round number 5 of the season, and as always, we kick off with your Friday frenzy of Formula 2 action. Hopefully you're all doing well on this lovely evening. 2 weeks ago at the Circuit of the Americas, feels like quite a while ago, we had one of all-time Creator Series F2 weeks, a plethora of duels and collisions taking place throughout the field, a race-on battle for the sprint win between Duncan and Gwatz. We had a red flag, in inverted commas, and then we had that epic feature race finale, the three-way scrap for supremacy, and it was Formula Kareem who managed to overcome the challenge from Kryzix and from Gwatz to pick up another win and extend his championship lead. This week, we move south from stateside to Mexico City at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit, a venue that has never seen Formula 2 cars in real life and in the Creator Series. We are heading into the unknown, everybody, and I'm sure it will not disappoint. Now, in the virtual commentary box for this evening's race, it is myself, Tom, and I'm delighted to say for the first time in the F2 Creator Series, it is Josh Richards, aka It's Chocolate, alongside me. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Pleasure to be here, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to tonight's race.
Very, very good stuff. Now, let's talk a little bit about the track first. I'm going to ask you the money question straight away. How do you think Mexico's debut in the F2 world will play out?
Well, I mean, with the grid we have, these F2 cars as well, they're amazing for racing. I think it's going to be a great race. We've seen great action all throughout the season already, and this track really does promote great racing, long straights, big braking zones. What more can you want, really?
100%. However, some of those braking zones will not apply in the sprint race. We do have a wild card this week. If you have been living under a rock, it is quite the interesting one. We have effectively rules off for the sprint race, corner cutting the main one. So no track limits. You can cut whatever corners you want. We are going to try and stick to broadly some form of etiquette and racing rules. You can't just plow into everybody, get your snow plows out and take everybody out, but we are going to be seeing some very interesting racing lines. I've already been seeing a couple of people practicing those racing lines. It's going to be fascinating to see who can extract the most time from this wild card.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how the drivers get on turn 1 and turn 4 as well. Those two corners going to be very, very different lines. Turn 4 especially, probably going to be seeing drivers braking on the grass. Could throw up some big challenges.
Yes. Now, lineups wise, we do have a number of reserves taking part this week. Gonna have to get my list out. First of all, the regulars that we are missing. There is no Ricky, Luke Howick, Blackmere, Gwatz, Pondon, yours sincerely, T. George, and Formula Kai. Replacing them, we have Formula Kareem in the Campos, although they'd be hard-pressed to realistically count him as a reserve since he's leading the championship. Has been here every race. Damas will be his teammate, making his debut in the Creator Series. We have quite the lineup at Trident as well. Hayden Gullis and Infratic GB returns to F2. He is taking the damn seat alongside Alex Gillen, jumping in for the second time this season. And finally, Bushy Ants in the Van Amersfoort car. And, well, to bring some of those reservists in, it's quite the... we've thrown them into the deep end with the wild card we've given them.
Yeah, going to be really tricky, and having to learn some new lines as well. Going to take a lot of learning very quickly.
Definitely. A couple of milestones that could also be reached, both of them relating to F1 Alex. He could become the driver with the most feature race podiums in F2 Creator Series. He currently lies joint top of that list with Dark Viper GT on 10. And obviously, if he gets one, that'll take him to 11. He'll be the outright leader. Also, if he gets a podium in the sprint and the feature race, that would see him move level with Dark Viper as the most combined podiums in the F2 Creator Series. Viper currently sat on 20, split exactly half and half between the sprints and the feature. Alex on 18. We obviously said 10 in the feature. That makes it 8 in the sprints. Thankfully, my maths is very much on point. Do you think the drivers care about these stats going into a race? Do you think they're even aware of them?
To be honest, I don't think he's going to be aware of that stat. It's probably not something that they're too focused on. I think they'll mainly be focused on the action that lies ahead of them.
100%, yeah. But always a nice little thing to maybe put something over one of your main rivals. We're just getting ready to go into our one-shot qualifying session. No, we're not. We're going into the sprint race where it'll be the reverse championship grid order with the reservists taken to the back. Something I should point out as well is Formula Kareem, the championship leader, is doing a last to first challenge, so he won't be taking part in one-shot qualifying. We're trying to start as far back as possible. What are we thinking about overtaking with somebody like Formula Kareem, who is, I don't think it's unfair to say, the quickest driver out there on the grid? How easy do you think he'll find it to try and work his way back through the field?
Well, in the sprint race, I think it could end up being quite a challenge. The different lines and the braking zone's probably not going to be as heavy, turn 1 especially. you're going to be braking a lot less, trying to carry as much speed as you can for the next straight. As for the feature race though, you're going to have those DRS zones, you're going to have the big heavy braking zones. It should make it a bit easier for him to cut through the field.
100%, yeah, and he did a very good job of that earlier in the season when he started at the back of the pack and managed to work his way through very nicely. Tyre compounds as well, we're seeing the super soft and the soft tyres, the purple striped and the red striped tyres being used this week as well. How do you think that'll play into it? Tyre wear, I think they're going to have to think a little bit more about their strategies. It might not just be the simple start on the super softs and then go straight to the softs on the regulation lap. That'll sort of be around lap 8 or 9, we're imagining. I think people might have to be a little bit creative, especially if we do see a couple of safety cars.
Yeah, the wear in the middle sector, especially through those S's, it's going to be really tricky on the tyres. The sprint race, it's going to be quite interesting to see how the tyres get on. Obviously, you're going to be straight lining a lot of those corners, but maybe with the extra wear through turn 1, turn 4 as well, you might see that you actually end up with slightly higher wear than before.
Definitely, yeah. Something that I also need to drop in is that the feature race will be wildcardless. I didn't mention that, but we don't need to worry about the track limits for that one. They'll be going back to regulation racing, and I think once they finish dealing with the ordeal that the sprint race will be, because that is going to be absolute carnage, I think that might be a nice little bit of respite for a few of our drivers out there. So I think we are preparing to jump in. There is the Mexico City pit lane. Track obviously reintroduced in 2015 after it was in for a few years back in the 70s and the 80s. Had that famous crash in that final corner with Ayrton Senna going upside down. And we are getting ready to go. Have we got the formation app on? Yes, we do. There is the grid. GB68 starting from pole position. Hopefully he can convert this one into his first Creator Series victory, unlike what we saw last week in Canada in the main F1 series.
Yeah, so already seeing some chaos here on the formation lap. Lots of drivers disqualifying themselves. I'm not sure if this is planned, whether they're supposed to do this or not, but anyway.
Yeah, a couple of drivers I think will probably need the practice, especially with the way things go. Looking down the order, this doesn't appear to be the entire reverse grid championship order, but hopefully that sorts itself out. GB on pole, Kryzix, and then Arsenault, F1 Scott, Test, Will. The top 5. Who have you got your eyes on? Alex Gillen, always very quick, no matter what car he jumps into, whether it's F1 or F2. He'll be looking to challenge for a position right at the sharp end. Somebody like Bushy Ants, who hasn't quite hit the ground running yet since he's joined F2 as a reserve and taken part in a couple of races. Formula Kareem, someone we always need to keep an eye on. Some of the drivers that have been around for quite a while. Also F1 Alex and Adam Sanderson. Need to be thinking about as well.
All right, then 5 lights are on and we are underway. Wait, what is going on? Someone going backwards already? Are we starting the race now? I think we're
going again. Yeah, I think somebody out there, whoever the host was, forgot to set the grid properly.
Yeah.
So we've got an absolute car park right at the back of the pack. Hopefully this isn't quite what we'll see in the main race taking place in 5 minutes time or so. I want to know who's going to win the faux race. So we've got cars flying straight down into the turn 1 chicane. People trying to get a bit of practice in over the very slippery grass. SF1 Alex going for a wobble, going the Max Verstappen line from 2016. If people can remember that far back. We've got 6 drivers still left in what has turned into a demolition derby, and it's Infratic leading the way. Kryzix is gone. Alex Gillen getting interested there with Infratic in first and second. Obviously this isn't real. Don't be too concerned about what is going on. We are going to be jumping in very, very shortly indeed. I think what we should do while we wait, if we have a little bit of a further discussion about this track. People in the chat, if you want to let us know some of your memorable memories from the Mexico City Grand Prix circuit. I'm trying to think back. 2017, the F1 main F1 channel actually uploaded the highlights of that race a couple of days ago. That was an absolute cracker. Championship decider. Vettel and Hamilton coming together on the opening lap. Max Verstappen involved in that little skirmish as well. Any other memories for you, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, 2017 is the big memory for me, to be honest. The crash in that first chicane. 2016 as well. I think there was a few cars cutting the turn 1 chicane. That caused a bit of debate. Obviously, the crash last season but with Perez going out at turn 1, I think that's one that will be very big in everybody's memories. But yeah, it is quite a racer-track. You do get a lot of action around here.
Yeah, definitely. Most certainly was not the Mexican way for Sergio Perez down into turn 1 last year. Found out in quite the unfortunate circumstances. Nearly took off and went back to the United States with the amount of lift that Red Bull car got as he went over the front wheel of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton, like you mentioned there, the car that went straight on at turn number 1 in 2016. And then we had that infamous moment, didn't we? The two Red Bulls and Sebastian Vettel getting stuck into each other in the latter stages. Daniel Ricciardo, when he was driving for Red Bull back then, Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari. What legendary names that we aren't going to have anymore. Losing Daniel Ricciardo for good, we all think now. Any other ones? I remember Ricciardo, actually a more negative one for him in 2021 in that McLaren where he got his steamroller out down into turn number 1. I think he took Valtteri Bottas with him, and then there was absolute carnage behind, I think. And AlphaTauri ended up facing the wrong way and was launched quite high into the air. Nicholas Latifi involved in that, as he usually was, with a couple of incidents.
Yeah, turn 1 can be quite a big one for incidents. You know, with the really long run, you always end up with quite interesting fights there. And I think we are going to see some more of those today as well.
Yeah, the racing. I hope everybody's looking forward to this, because the racing we could have could be spectacular. People going sideways on the grass, a lot of runoff. It's a traditional racing circuit. None of these newfangled street circuits with barriers lining the track every 5 millimeters. This is going to be old-fashioned, elbows out racing, and ignoring all of the track limits as well. So get prepared to see quite a lot of lawn mowing, Valtteri Bottas style, from Austria 2020.
Yeah, going to be really great. Shouldn't be too much longer, I don't think, before we're able to get underway in the feature race, in the sprint race, sorry, as well. Should just need to get back into the lobby and set the grid up. But yeah, really looking forward to this one. And the wildcard definitely going to make things interesting.
Yeah, we can obviously now confirm, we've had note from Mr. Hayden-Gullis that the grid wasn't set properly. I doubt it will be GB68 starting from pole position. If I can try and get the championship standings up, we can maybe have a little bit of an insight as to who will be starting from pole. And currently bottom of the F2 Championship. I think it may be yours sincerely. No, yours sincerely not here. Dan Moran might be starting right at the back. Big T-Mac, Ultra Killer, B-Roy down there. Some drivers at the front. Duncan's got to be one to watch out for. Won the sprint race 2 weeks ago. It's going to be starting fairly close to the front. Watch out for that orange and black Van Amersfoort car. Further back, you've got the likes of Formula Kareem Kryzik. F1's got the top 3 in the standings, and all of the reservists who are going to take their place right at the back of the pack.
Yeah, I think Formula Kareem, he's going to be a big one to watch though. Having such a pace advantage, watching him cut through the field is going to be very interesting today.
Definitely, yeah. Should we get a couple of predictions in? And it's not going to be the prediction that I think everybody's expecting. Who's going to forget the rules down into turn number 1? Who is going to break for turn number 1 and then have another Formula 2 car enter their gearbox and smash them straight off into the runoff area and ruin a couple of drivers' races? I think it's going to be somebody towards the front that might just default towards the standard racing line.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the driver on pole position, maybe in second as well. If they're fighting down towards turn 1, they might end up trying to outbrake each other and then just completely forget, go into autopilots, lose a bunch of positions, maybe even cause a big crash.
I'll be very interested to see who does it. I think somebody is going to. Somebody's going to come a cropper, and we'll have to wait and see who is the recipient of... I don't know. I feel like the Idiot Award might be a little bit unfair, but that's maybe the only word that I can think of at the moment. Hayden, I think, still setting the grid. Obviously, reverse championship order before we can get going once again. We'll do some more conventional predictions this time. Josh, who do you think is going to win the sprint race? Let's start off with that.
Sprint race is going to be a really tricky one to call, given the reverse grid. I think... who should we go for? I think F1 Alex is going to be able to cut his way through the field, and he's going to pick up the win.
Yeah, it's a nice one. I'm a big fan of that suggestion, actually. I'm going to go for a back-to-back sprint race victory for Duncan. He was very good in his defence last week, holding off Gwatz to win at Kota. Formula Kareem was catching them hand over fist as well. I think Duncan's a fairly safe shout. For the feature race, who do you think is going to win that? We need to bear in mind as well that Formula Kareem is going to be doing a last to first challenge. Yeah,
and I think given that it's going to be one of the front runners, I'm not sure who. But the gap that they can probably pull, unless we do see a very late safety car, I think Formula Grim might just end up a little bit too far back to fight for the race win today. Maybe fighting for the podium, but I think we might see one of our front runners just pulling away up at the top end of the field.
I am actually going to put my neck out on the line here and say that F1 Scott picks up his first Creator Series F2 victory. If we look at his record so far, no pole positions, no wins, but he has featured on the podium quite a few times. He has actually got 10 podiums across the sprints and the feature races, 6 coming in the sprints, the other 4 obviously in the feature races. I think this could be Scott's time. I've got a feeling that he's going to pull something out of the bag. He's come very close a number of times, quite a few second place finishes. I remember one back to Miami in season number 2 where he was chasing down Mr. Dale for the victory for the Campos, an eventual season 2 champion, just about holding on to take that one. So I'm gonna go with F1 Scott.
Yeah, he managed to pick up a P2 in Monaco 2 races ago as well. It's not really the same kind of track, Mexico, Monaco, but you never know. He seems to be on form.
Yeah, definitely. A return to form, I think, is the best way to put it, because when he came back into the F2 Creator Series at the back end of last season, having been involved with the F1 Series, he didn't look quite up to speed, looked a little bit rusty, I think is the best way to put it, but has been fairly decent so far. A couple of 4th places in the feature races and a 2nd place in round number 3 as well, and some podiums also in the sprint. So I think consistency has been the main strength of F1 Scott this season, which is something that we haven't been able to say of seasons gone by, and it's potentially cost him a couple of places in the championship.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Could have potentially won the championship a couple of times had he had slightly better consistency, but yeah, just didn't come for him. Maybe if he can string some good performances together, I think he's still definitely got a shot this season.
Definitely. Other names we need to keep our eyes on, obviously Arseno was very quick last week, as was Kryzix. Kryzix very, very quick indeed. F1 Alex, like you mentioned, Adam Sanderson's going to be right towards the sharp, and you would imagine Test Will has been fairly solid so far this season. So yeah, I have to say, I think this is one of the most competitive Creator Series F2 grids we've had. And obviously we've got the likes of Alex Gillen coming in, Hayden Gullis, who was runner-up in the inaugural season of the F2 Creator Series. A lot of potential for some very interesting battles this weekend.
Yeah, all these drivers pretty much up to speed in these cars as well. We've had plenty of time in these new F224 cars, so everybody pretty much up to grips with them. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one. Everyone knows how these cars handle now, and it's really going to show who has got that skill.
Absolutely, yeah. This is taking slightly longer than we maybe would have anticipated. Apologies for people that are waiting for the start of the sprint race. The grid obviously taking a little bit longer than we all expected to be set and finalised. And it just allows the tension to build even more for the what I think is the best wildcard that we've seen so far. I know a lot of people like the cockpit cam one that we had in F1 a couple of weeks ago at Portimao. This, I think, eclipses it though. We've got not quite a free-for-all, not quite a demolition derby, but the closest that we're going to be able to get without turning it into a horrible place to be.
Yeah, I think it's really going to be interesting to see how many different lines we're going to see from the drivers, given the entire track width, all the runoff and everything. How many different ways can you take the corners and carry good speed through them?
Absolutely, yeah. I think we are finally having our drivers ready up. We can put our fists in the air because we are going to be getting going very, very shortly indeed. Again, apologies for the wait. It's been nearly 25 minutes since we got live. We had the faux start where the grid wasn't set in the correct order, so we had GB68 on pole. I guarantee he is not going to be starting from pole this time. Going to be a little bit further back. And that run down into turn 1 is going to be so interesting because it's so wide as well. We could have 4, 5, maybe even 6 cars wide, all trying to attack the grass on the left-hand side. And I think we will have a few people caught out by the limited grip that you get on that green little bits of turf.
Yeah, I mean, once you do get to effectively what will be the apex of the new turn 1, you can pretty much fit the entire grid side by side because it is just so wide, so much runoff on the left and the right. Obviously, trying to cut as short a distance as possible probably going to be the best route through the corner, but you've got to make sure you can make the corner. Don't want to run too wide, carry too much speed and end up in the wall.
100%, yes. We have our drivers loading in, and we will be able to jump over very, very shortly. Strategy-wise, obviously, it's the sprint. We shouldn't be seeing any regulation pit stops, and I imagine it'll be the red stripe soft compound tyres that everybody chucks on to take them to the end. Although with all the sliding that people could be doing on the grass when there's very little grip indeed, I wouldn't be surprised if the tyre wear is very high. We might even see a puncture from one of our drivers if they push it a little bit too far.
Yeah, I mean, if we get a late safety car as well, we might see some drivers coming in to fit a set of the super soft tyres, try and make up a couple positions in the very late stages, if the wear is that bad as well. Could be a very interesting call.
Yeah. The weather set fair, no risk of rain. Obviously, in Mexico City, the rain not usually paying a visit to us when we come here for racing, and we are, like I said, heading into the unknown. Never been here in Formula 2 cars or the equivalent GP2 cars in real life. Never been here in Formula 2 Creator Series, and this is an opportunity for the Mexico City Grand Prix to stamp down a marker as one of the tracks that we should be returning to many, many times in the future.
So just looking at the tyres, actually, we have two drivers who have gone for the super soft tyres, Hayden Gullis and B-Roy. B-Roy up in third, Hayden Gullis down at the back of the grid. Two drivers on the super soft tyres, so I think we're going to be expecting some stops in this race.
Yeah, B-Roy taking a big risk there. Already got some drivers disqualified. Duncan in position number 5. I backed him to win this sprint race. That's not going to help as he's going to have ice cold tyres by the time he gets round. And B-Roy, I'm surprised he's taken that much of a risk, I have to say. Starting from P3 on those super soft tyres, he's going to have to work very, very hard to take them to the end of the race, if indeed those are his plans.
Yeah, I feel like he might be anticipating some sort of big crash in the early stages, people taking very different lines. No one's going to know where the other cars are braking. I think going to make it really interesting, especially on the opening lap down towards turn 1 and turn 4. We could see some contact between all the drivers. But yeah, quite a big risk, definitely. Almost guaranteeing he's going to need a pit stop in this race.
Absolutely, yeah. Adam Sanderson starting from position number 10. One race victory in the Creator Series so far. That him in a sprint. Can he add to that today? Starting from a decent position, although in the mid-pack maybe could be called out by a few skirmishes on that long run down into turn number 1. F1 Alex has found his form again this season. Struggled towards the back end of season number 3. Come back into some form this season, sitting 5th in the championship with a win in the sprint and the feature race to go with it. A lot of drivers that are going to be competing for very few spots right at the sharp end. Got to shout out Alex Gillen as well, said it before. Won the opening feature race of the season as a reserve in Singapore, starting 19th here. He is very adept at making his way through traffic, and I think that could be one of his strengths as he fights his way back up to the sharp end.
Yeah, definitely. And what a track to do it on as well. Big, long straights. Definitely going to favour overtaking.
Dan Moran starting from pole with Ultra Killer alongside, both on the soft tyres, with B-Roy sat in hot pursuit in third in the high-tech. This is your sprint race for the Mexico City Grand Prix with no track limits. This should be an absolute banger.
All right, then, lights coming on now. We have got 5 lights on. And we are underway racing now here in Mexico City for the sprint race here in the F2 Creator Series. A decent start from Dan Moran, but Ultra Killer already up into the race lead, getting a really great launch off the grid. Infratic also making up positions. B-Roy still holding on to his P3. Now Infratic up into the race lead as we make our way down towards turn 1. When is everyone going to make their braking points? Looks like everyone's playing it a bit cautious in the background, but Infratic holding on to the lead here as we make our way now down towards turn 4. Ultra Killer P3, Bushy Ants now up to P4.
Excellent start from the Trident driver, B-Roy, not using the advantage of those super soft tyres off the lines. He loses a couple of places. Everybody skating over the grass. And Infratic's got it terribly, terribly wrong, going very wide up through turns 4, 5 and 6 and dropping a whole host of places. Ultra Killer now assumes the lead. B-Roy up into second ahead of GB. Then it's the recovering Infratic in the Trident. Duncan holding on to 5th place with his teammate sat just behind.
Yeah, we saw Danvers hitting the barrier there down at turn 4, already out of the sprint race. Really unfortunate start for him, not going to be scoring any points today.
Absolutely not a good first outing for him. Dan Moran, Dan the man, the pole sitter, down in last place coming towards the end of lap number 1. Look at this battle. GB68 in the dams, trying to swing it around the outside of the Piratella to take the lead. Coming on to lap number 2, they're going to cut the beam side by side with the MP Motorsport car of Ultra Killer just ahead, but pulling in front now is GB.
And look behind, here comes B-Roy in the slipstream as well, gaining on this pair of them on those super soft tyres. He's going to have a great shot down towards turn 1, pulling alongside GB. Now Ultra Killer on the inside as well as they make their way in. A bit of contact there in the background. We've got Adam Sanderson almost going around there, losing a couple positions for the Prema. Just about holds onto the car, but down to P10 now, losing out even more. B-Roy still going at it with GB now down to turn 4. GB with the inside line now switches to the inside for B-Roy on the grass. So who can get the car stopped? We've got a very fast car going in there, making contact, and that is Ultra Killer, I think, going rounds out in the background. F1 Alex also dropping down the field, losing a lot of positions. Not going well for my prediction there. Still though, GB and B-Roy going wheel to wheel. Cryzix getting in on this as well. As we go 3 wide through the S's, who's going to come out on top? Cryzix now up into the race lead. That's, I think, our 5th or 6th different race leader in just 2 laps of racing here.
The ART coming out of absolutely nowhere to take the lead, and that's GB punted into the barrier, and he's out of the race. 3 wheels left on his wagon, and that's the Downs return to F2, ending very, very sharply as B-Roy gives him a little bit of a shoulder barge into the barriers to take second place to boot as well. Tess Will also out of the race, maybe clattering into the stationary Dams car, but suddenly Cryzix, it's all come up trumps from here because he's got nearly a second advantage over B-Roy in second position. Then it's Infratic who recovered from the early whoopsie. Formula Kareem from 15th on the grid, already up into 6th place, the championship leader, and Alex Gillen following suit as well into 6th, and they're 3 wide down into turn number 1. Gillen making up places all the time now as he's in the top 5, 1.5 seconds off the back of Bushian.
Yeah, Gillen's had a great start here. Formula Karim also on a pretty decent one, making up some position right now. Bushian's fighting it with B-Roy, and we think we've got a car around there, down at turn 6. Who is that? I think it was
B-Roy and Infratic coming to blows, and then synchronized spinning from 3 cars on the exit. I think it was B-Roy going off, Infratic going off, and then Adam Sanderson in the Prema also dropping it coming out of turns number 6 and 7. Very close as Infratic, no, it's Hayden Gullis, almost gets squeezed into the barrier there through the S's by the MP Motorsport car of Ultra Killer. Cryzix now with a 3-second advantage out in front. Alex Gillen's on the podium.
Yeah, really great from Alex Gillen. I think he was 19th on the grid, if I remember correctly. Cryzix, though, looking really strong with that 3-second advantage. If he can hold on to that one, he could be set for this race win, though got Bushians and Gillen pushing hard behind him. They are not going to back down in this battle. Still 10 laps left to go in this race. Plenty of opportunity for that gap to get closed.
Absolutely, 1:09.0, very competitive lap time with corner cutting off. Formula Kareem settling into the slipstream of Alex Gillen. Behind them, Hoodie Pete and Arseno to bake 5th and 6th position. Now it's the ultimate line for Arseno to cruise past that MP Motorsport car of Hoodie Pete and leave him at the mercy of his teammate potentially. And then it's Hayden Gullis also on the super soft tyres, a further 2.5 back with the second trident of Infratic. And Adam Sanderson rounding out our top 10. Look at the speed they take over the grass up through turns 4, 5 and 6. That is the 2 MP Motorsport cars going into civil war as Ultra Killer looks to make up for lost time.
Yeah, cars going so fast the cameras can't even keep up at times. But yeah, Ultra Killer, not a great lap from him, losing couple positions. And Gillen's up to P2 now, fighting with Bushians through this final sector. He has picked himself up into P2, 3.3 seconds to Cryzix. I don't think he's safe at the front. He's got a fast charging Gillen coming at him now for the next 10 or so laps.
Formula Kareem remembering hot pursuit as well. Infratic's gone, he's lost it in the stadium section. Fastest lap for Gillen. Look at the trident. People having to dodge him very, very carefully indeed as he's stranded in the middle of the circuit. Zach Garcia and B-Roy battling just outside of the top 10 places, and it's the driver on the super soft tyres unable to get through. Bushians once again gets back ahead of Alex Gillen, returning the favour from a few moments ago. And Formula Kareem, a very willing spectator, Gillen very close, almost brushing the barriers as he comes through the first chicane.
Yeah, none of these drivers want to back down. Heading into any of these corners, they don't want to give up any time, given the track limits that they have available to them. They want to carry as much speed as possible. Oh, and they're losing the car. Bushians getting out of shape. Formula Karim coming to blows with him as well. Luckily, they've been able to continue, but that's going to give Alex Gillen some margin now. 1.8 seconds ahead. DRS will be broken for himself. And now he can set his sights after Cryzix in first. 3.5 seconds he has to close in the next 9 laps.
Formula Green not going to be happy with that at all, and Bushiant still giving him cause for concern in the battle for the final spot on the podium. Arseno, Zach Justin behind the pair of them as well, who can take the optimal line through the stadium sections. We fly across the runoff area, and it's Arseno nibbling at the heels of the Campos of Formula Cream, and the championship leader almost pushed down into 5th place, but gets a tremendous exit out of the Piratella. Hayden Gullis has worked his way up into 6th, butting both of the MP Motorsport cars through the stadium section. You can just see them there in the back of shot. Bushiant still holding 3rd. Formula Cream is going to come under pressure from Arseno. Arseno could be 3 wide down into turn number 1 with limited braking being applied. Alex Gillen taking time out of Kryzik's hand over fist here. Bushyants drops from the front of this train to the back. His Formula Kareem back up into 3rd place.
Yeah, really nice from him, battling his way through. He's showing he has the pace. We know he has the pace as well from the previous races, but yeah, really showing he can fight this one as well. F1, Alex out of the race as well, down in the pit lane as Hayden Gullis. Hoodie Pete, we got some more contact down at turn 6. Hoodie Pete, Hayden Gullis coming to blows once again and losing the car. Unfortunately for them, going to cost them a bit of time. I think I saw some damage flying off from one of those cars as well. So might be seeing some more time lost in the later stages of this race.
Civil War Part 2 between the two MP Motorsport cars, both of them coming to blows once again. It's Hoodie Pete that still holds 7th ahead of Ultra Killer Adam Sanson and his Prema teammate Zach RC a further 3.5 and 4.5 seconds further back. Look how close they get to that bright orange wall sticking out as they come through the stadium section. I wonder if that's how Infratic was retired from this race. Just a little bit greedy with it there, clipping that inside wall. The gap has stabilised down in front. 2.9 seconds between Kryzik and Alex Gillen. Further 3.7 back to Formula Kareem, who still has Bushyants all over the back of him. I think the Van Alstel is going to make a move down into turn 1. It's a regulation overtake straight around the outside. And Formula Kareem pushed back out of the podium place with Arseno. Sat right underneath the rear wing of the Campos, but does just tap the barrier.
Yeah, very lucky to still be in this race, to be honest, with that contact. Could easily rip one of his tyres off the car. As we've seen from so many people, Kryzik, I think, made a mistake. He's gone off down at turn 6. Alex Gillen is into the race lead here on lap 7 of this sprint race in the F2 Creator Series. He leads now 3.7 ahead of Bushyants. Then Formula Karim up onto the podium once again. Kryzik's down to P4. What happened to the ART driver?
Hate to use the B word, but I think it's a little bit of a bottle there from the driver that was comfortably in the lead. And now as his teammate sat right underneath his rear wing, Bushyants and Formula Kareem cannot get enough of each other as they continue to smash 10 bells out of each other. We could be 4 wide into the Piratella. I don't think we quite were. Arseno, thankfully enough, opting to back out of it. And we're going to be drag racing out of the final corner between Bushyants and Formula Kareem, the two Campos teammates. Who's going to come out on top? It's Campos versus Campos. ART versus ART down into turn number 1.
Yeah, and look at the margin that Gillen has out in front over these guys. They're squabbling away. They're going to be costing themselves time in the process as well. And all the while, Gillen is just putting nice laps in, pulling away out in front. He has the fastest lap right now as well. I don't think it's worth a point in the feature race, in the sprint race, sorry, though. But he is putting on a great effort right now.
Oh, but I think he's made a mistake. Alex Gillen's dropped a whole host of time. Has he been in the barriers where he's lost 3 seconds there? And now he's been brought right back into this race. I think he's slowing down, maybe? What's this tactic from Gillen here? Maybe thinking that he was a little bit bored and wants to get involved with all the action that we're seeing. It's blink and you'll miss it stuff. You cannot take your eyes off this, as we're only halfway through this race and somehow Kryzik has found himself back in the lead of this sprint race. Yeah,
after that big mistake from the ART driver, he's been handed the lead once again. And yeah, looking very good as they go 2 wide there into the stadium section. Almost contact between those two drivers. But fortunately, they both survived to fight another 5-way fight for the race lead here, though, in Mexico City. Going to be a great final few laps here as we make our way down towards turn 1 once again. Alex Gillen right in the slipstream, tucked up behind Arseno. Going to be making a move, potentially coming over to the inside line now as he makes his way down the straights. Formula carry him, going for the race lead as well, down to turn 1. Gets himself past Kryzik and Alex Gillen up to P3 as well.
You are absolutely right, Mr. Mars Bar. It is a weird one to commentate on, saying that he's gone off the track instead of going on the track. It's Formula Kareem into the lead for the very first time in the sprint, though. Look at them bounding over the curves. Alex Gillen way too late on the brakes. Has to slam the anchors on and loses those 2 places he made up by being very, very ambitious indeed up the inside and slots right back in underneath the rear wing of Kryzik. But there's contact behind. It's Arseno and Bushyants coming to blows. And suddenly this quintet that was squabbling for the lead of the race knocked down to just a trio.
Here we go now into the stadium section. Well, are we going to go 3 wide here? Looks like Formula Kareem a little bit far back, but Alex Gillen down the inside gets himself back up into the race lead once again. But maybe Kryzik with a switchback. Alex Gillen not taking the optimal line. Formula Kareem round the outside, getting himself alongside Alex Gillen. He's going to go round the outside of the Piratella up into the race lead. What a move from Formula Kareem. Alex Gillen in the slipstream, though. Kryzik's tucked up right behind as well. Here we go down towards turn 1. Bump drafting from Alex Gillen, pushing him along. Kryzik's joining in on the fun as well as they now make their way down towards the first corner. Is anyone going to try and move here? No, just sitting behind for now. Still 4 laps of racing to go to decide who is going to pick up the 8 points for the race win.
Gillen very close again to clouting the barrier coming out of the first chicane. We don't really have corner numbers for everybody because we're just taking straight lines over the grass, getting the lawnmowers out. Once again, Alex Gillen very late on the brakes down into what would be turn number 6 and running wide on the exit to boot as well, but Kreisich with a little bit of a wobble and unable to remain sat right underneath the rear wing of that AIX car. Hayden Gullis a further 3.5 seconds back, making the most of the mistake and the contact that we saw between Arseno and Bushians, probably both of them with front wing damage. Then it's Adam Sanson holding on to 7th place. This is Ultra Killer squabbling away with Zach RC. The MP Motorsport car is wounded. So is Formula Kareem because Alex Gillen reassumes the race lead.
Yeah, and Kreisich's trying to get in on this as well. Maybe if Formula Korean goes a little bit wide, a little bit of a wobble there, coming through the final corner as well, could give him a chance down this long start-finish straight. Although Formula Kareem tucked up right behind Alex Gillen, he's going to get a great run down towards turn 1 as well.
Absolutely, yes. I think we could be in a complete reverse order by the time we get to what is technically the braking zone, but I don't think it quite is. Kreisich staying very close to the back of Alex Gillen, was not interested at all in making a move down into turn number 1 as Formula Kareem snatched the race lead. And now we do go 3 wide on the exit. Alex Gillen a little bit deep coming out of the first chicane. Kreisich's on the outside. Formula Kareem going to act as a box for the pair of them. It's Alex Gillen skating over the grass who takes the lead, but only temporarily. Is Formula Kareem reasserting his dominance again. But it's Alex Gillen on the outside, using the grip from the runoff area in the curbs, and he's back in the lead of the race. He's flip-flopping all the time.
Yeah, these guys are going to be battling all the way to the end of the race, I'm sure of it. Going to be potentially a last lap, maybe even last corner pass. We've seen them going wheel to wheel a couple of times, heading through the Piratella, and we could see it once more once we do reach that final lap of racing. These guys, though, want to pick up the race win. They want those 8 points. They want the glory. But they are going to have to go at it hard for these final few laps. Alex Gillen now 7 tenths ahead. Seems like he got a bit of a better line as those guys were squabbling, but that gap's surely going to close as they make their way down the start-finish straight with that slipstream as well.
Most certainly, yeah. The most expensive lawnmowers in the world doing battle once again. Kreisich's now pushing Formula Kareem back down into 3rd place after that little mistake he made through the stadium section, and the Frenchman in the ART car says thank you very much, and he is very, very willing to push Formula Kareem down a further place. Hayden Gullis, I think he's going to be struggling now on those super soft tyres along with B-Roy, although he's comfortably outside of the points paying positions. Hayden Gullis with a 2-second advantage over Arseno, who's going to be bravest down into turn number 6. This time it looks like it's Kreisich's nibbling at the heels of Alex Gillen, trying to sink his teeth into the AIX car, but it almost leaves himself exposed to Formula Kareem on the exit.
Yeah, Formula Kareem tried to get that move done there, just could not quite get the power down. Kreisich's holding onto the P2 for now. We've got just over 2 laps of racing left to go. We've got a lap car, that's Chesnoid in front of us as well. So we might see him getting involved in these final few laps as well. Making our way through the stadium, Alex Gillen goes wide. Here comes Kreisich once again, now to the outside of the Piratella. He's going to try and pick up the lead here. Alex Gillen, though, tight on the inside. Going to hold on to it for now. Going to have, once again, a drag race down the start-finish straight. Formula Kareem in the slipstream. These two wheel to wheel, making their way down towards the first corner. Kreisich's momentarily ahead, but we might be seeing some changes in position. Formula Kareem closing. Alex Gillen looks to be on lower wings as well. He's closing in, and they're going to go 3 wide now down towards turn 1. Gaining. Kareem down the inside, up into P1. Alex Gillen holding onto the P2. Goes a bit wider. That could give Kreisich a chance now down towards the next braking zone, although it looks like he's just going to tuck in for now.
Absolutely brilliant from Kareem. Ice in the veins as he held in on the inside of both of those cars on the very slippery grass. Once again, Kreisich opting to take the narrow line through the double apex at turn number 7. And I think it's going to pay off for him as he bumps Alex Gillen back down into 3rd. Only temporarily, though, because Alex Gillen has the optimal line through the turn number 8 of the left-hander to start the middle sector. Hayden Gullis struggling to hold on to places. Hoodie Pete coming to blows. I think we're 5 wide in the battle for 4th down into 9th behind. You cannot take your eyes on this. We have absolutely no idea what's going on. Is that a car facing the wrong way? Look at them training as they go through the runoff area. It's Pramer, Van Amersfoort, Pramer, MP Motorsport car, and then it's Formula Kareem out in front. He's been bumped once again down into 3rd place. Kreisich's not going to live this one down, but it's Alex Gillen who leads onto the final lap.
Is this where you want to be, though, for the start of the final lap down one of the longest straights on the F1 calendar? Kreisich's gaining with the DRS down towards turn 1. It's a double detection zone as well. Who got the DRS down towards turn 4? And Kreisich's once again up into the race lead on the final lap. Gillen in 2nd, Kareem in 3rd. Kareem dropping back a little bit. Might be challenging for him to pick up another position here. Gillen, though, not going to give up. He's probably going to send it late on the brakes into the next braking zone. Let's see what he can do now down into the turn 6. Braking zone, trying to go to the outside, maybe going to go for a switchback, get on the power nice and early. Can he get the run, though, as they make their way down into the S's? Is he going to get alongside? Doesn't quite look like it. But now into the S's. He's going to try and battle this one out. He's got one more DRS zone to come in just a second, and then we'll see if he can get the move done here.
Alex Gillard for a roof raiser to finish the sprint race. The gap is half a tenth as we come down into turn number 13. It's Gillard up the inside to reclaim the lead with just a couple of corners to go. Don't cloud the orange barrier that sticks out like a sore thumb going into the stadium section. Just one more corner. It's the Piratella, but it's Kryzik's locking the rears. Alex Gillard's going to win this race. Formula Kareem taking over second. Can he just cut in front of the AX? No, he can't. It's Alex Gillard by just under 0.2 of a second. In third is Kryzik's a further quarter of a tenth back. And then it's Arseno in fourth. And look at this battle for what is just the final couple of points playing positions. Bushiant's struggling to hold on to seventh ahead of Hoodie Pete, but he is just about going to manage it.
What an end to that race. We saw a final corner move. Formula Kareem down the inside of Kryzik's, a little mistake for the ART, and that cost him the P2 in the end.
Nearly had a heart attack. I ran out of air in my lungs there. That was so incredible to watch. I mean, blink and you'll miss it stuff. I said it a couple of times. Unbelievable racing. I think that just confirms what we were saying there when the wildcard was announced, that it was going to be one of the best wildcards that we have ever seen. It's Alex Gillard by just under 0.2 ahead of Formula Kareem. Kryzik's rounding out the podium. A further 7.5 seconds back is Arseno. Hayden Gullis doing well to hold on to those super soft tyres ahead of Adam Sanderson, Bushiants, and Hoodie Pete. Zach RC just missing out on a point in the sprint race. And we only had 15 technically classifications. Ultra Killer retiring, F1 Alex Infratic, Test Wheel GB and Danvers on the opening lap as we come around the final corner with F1 Scott to complete our sprint race.
I have to say,
absolute carnage.
Yeah, I have to say a really good drive from Hayden, managing to take those super soft tyres all the way to the end of the race, 14 laps on those tyres, and he still managed to hang on to that P5.
100%, yeah. Very mature race there from Hayden Gullis, and you don't often say that when he's taking part in Creator Series races, especially when he's doing his qualifying lap in reverse. I mean, I think I need to lie down. That's the most exhausted I've ever been. It didn't feel like 14 laps. It felt like only 5 or 6. We were taking some very interesting racing lines with the most expensive lawnmowers the world has ever seen. But it's Alex Gillard from the back row of the grid taking the victory in the sprint race. It is his third victory in the Creator Series, his second in sprints to go with the feature race win that he picked up in Singapore. An excellent performance from him. He was in P3 by the end of lap number 2. I think that just shows how good he is at making his way through the pack.
Yeah, I mean, what a drive from him. He was fighting there the whole time. He was about 5 seconds ahead at one point. He gave the time back, and he still manages to come through and pick up the race win.
Absolutely, yeah. Fastest lap going to Formula Kareem in second place as he extends his championship lead over his main rivals, Kryzik's and Arseno. Good performance, like you said, from last place, Hayden Gullis up into 5th on those very, very warm super softs. Adam Sanderson picking up a couple of points. Bushiants and Hoodie Pete picking up a point for himself as well. Dan the man started from pole, dropping down into 12th. He was last by the end of the first lap, quite literally the definition of 0 to 0, ending up in 12th.
Yeah, so we restart the lobby now, get ready for the one-shot qualifying into the feature race. Given the pace we've seen, although it might not be too representative, any predictions you have now after that sprint race?
Alex Gillen's got to be the favourite. We wait for the one-shot qualifying session to kick in. We'll get to see people do part number 2 of the faux start where they smash into each other. Alex Gillen's left the session. Oh no, that's a little bit worrying. Hopefully Gillen gets back in sharpishly.
I think I remember hearing something that he was only going to join for the wild card. He was saying that, I think, in Adam Sanderson's chat. So that might actually be Gillen gone for the night.
If Gillen's gone, that blows this wide open. Kryzik's probably the favourite for the race now. He has some exceptional pace, although we said it before, who's going to forget the wildcard going into the sprint and break into turn number 1? Who, for the start of the feature race, is going to forget the wildcard doesn't exist anymore, go straight across the grass and pick up 18,000 seconds worth of penalties? That could be very funny indeed. Don't be concerned by what you're seeing there. This is just everybody having a little bit of fun, even though they probably had quite a lot of fun with that open lobby experience that we have just seen. We are going to wait for one-shot qualifying to kick off once again in a few minutes' time, probably about 5 minutes. And we keep going once again. Formula Kareem would naturally be the favourite, considering he has 3 pole positions in 4 races so far this season. But with him starting from the back, it is all to play for, especially with Alex Gillen gone as well.
Yeah, he was definitely looking like the favourite. And if it is true that he won't be returning, it does really blow things wide open. You've got Formula Kareem obviously down at the back end of the grid. doing his last to first. Yeah, going to be really interesting to see who is on the pace. Kryzik's obviously going to be one of the favourites. I think F1 Alex should be up there as well. Maybe F1 Scott can pull it together. It was not a great sprint for him at all.
No, it was not. Uncharacteristic this season from F1 Scott, unable to keep his nose clean. I think he was just caught up in a plethora of incidents throughout the entire race, which just hampered his chances of making it to the front. Who are we waiting for? We're waiting for Ches and GB. I mean, GB at one stage on the opening lap was leading the race and then found himself with only 3 wheels left on his car by the end of lap number 1 coming through the stadium section. And that was all she wrote. And another opportunity to get a win in the Creator Series potentially passes GB by. But he can go again in the feature race. And I would not be surprised if he's right towards the sharp end.
Yeah, going to be really pushing hard, especially in that one-shot qualifying. Got to make sure you keep within the track limits, though. There are quite a lot of corners where you can just run slightly over that white line, and then you just completely lose your lap. You're down to the back of the grid, and that will really cost you in the feature race.
Definitely, yeah. Anyone remember back to Brazil from a couple of seasons ago where we only had 9 out of 20 drivers complete a one-shot qualifying time? And that's Brazil, where track limits aren't too difficult, but only 9 drivers managed to complete it. If we look at this circuit, you've got the middle set. You have to be so precise with where you place your car. I think we could be seeing 3 or 4 drivers caught out there down into turns 1, 2, and 3. If you're lazy coming out of turn number 3, going over that white line. Also, if you're a little bit too aggressive down into 12 or into the stadium section. Lots of potential for drivers to make a complete mess of this and embarrass themselves on the global stage.
Yeah, got to be really careful that you keep your car intact, most importantly. If you want to finish first, you must finish, as they say. So yeah, as much as they want to push flat out, they've got to make sure they keep the car facing the right way, keep every piece of the car attached as well. Pick up a bit of damage, and that could be what costs you, especially through that middle sector. You'll be losing so much time, so much extra tyre wear as well. It's going to be really, really costly for yourself.
Absolutely. Everybody in the chats of the various social media platforms, what did you think of the wild card? Did you like it? Did you like the what was technically the no rules wild card where we had corner cutting turned off? Obviously, we don't have it for the feature race. We will be reverting to type. But what did you think of it? Was it one you liked? Was it one you didn't like? Let's get some feedback going straight away.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it brought some great racing up on us. So many different racing lines that people could take. Really evened out the playing field, to be honest. Nobody really had a chance to practice it that much. And yeah, gave us some great action as well all the way through.
Definitely, yeah. It's like open lobbies from Rob. I think that is the best way of putting it. But a lot cleaner open lobbies in 2024. I mean, salute to you if you're still trying to do that, because they are absolutely diabolical every time you jump into them. You've got somebody taking you out. I was going to say something else then. Taking you out down into turn number 1. Just getting ready as everybody retires, and we'll get going for our one-shot qualifying session, where I said I thought F1 Scott was going to be the winner of the feature race. I'm actually going to change that, and that might seem a little bit weak of me, but Kryzik's, I think, is the favourite going into this. With Formula Kareem starting from the back and Alex Gillen jumping ship, Kryzik's is the one we need to look out for here.
Yeah, it's going to be a really, really interesting sprint race, obviously. We have feature race. The sprint race going to give us some intel as to how the drivers can drive this track, but I don't think the final corner is probably the least changed corner, and they were still taking different lines down there. Pretty much every corner had a different, unique line to it, so we might find that the grid is very different compared to what we saw just a moment ago.
100%, yeah. And people seem to be really struggling for grip going through that Piratella. Now, that could be explained by the fact that they had massive chunks of grass on their tyres from, like I said, being the most expensive lawnmowers anybody has ever seen, and the most powerful lawnmowers as well than anybody has ever seen. But tyre temperatures as well, I think that could be something that people really, really struggle with. If they don't have their tyre pressure set correctly, they could be spinning out all over the place, in particular in that middle sector, over the curbs, when you're putting a lot of load through the front and the rear tyres.
Yeah, definitely Piratella is probably going to be the toughest one, especially with all the tyre wear we're going to be seeing, all the drivers pushing hard through that middle sector. Probably going to see quite hot tyres, especially on the rear. Not going to be helping them at all. And yeah, going to be a lot of sliding, lots of tyre wear, and yeah, going to be really interesting what everyone does with the strategy. Maybe we're going to see a 2-stop, maybe if it's an early safety car. Yeah, going to be really exciting to watch though.
Absolutely, yeah. Remember, everybody, the safety car rules as well. If there's a virtual safety car, you cannot make your mandatory pit stop. And if you come in under a normal safety car within the first 6 laps, I believe it is, that also does not count as your mandatory pit stop. Doesn't usually catch people out. Alex Gillen, it has in the past, along with F1 Alex as well in Baku in the very first season of the Creator Series.
Yeah, it's quite a weird rule, to be honest. Mandatory pit stops not counting under VSCs, but they do count under full safety cars. Not exactly sure what the reason for that is. But yeah, it does throw a bit of spice into it, and sometimes you do get 1 or 2 drivers who do forget, lose a couple positions for nothing, really.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think I've just about got the oxygen back in my lungs and managed to go back to a normal lung capacity. Everybody at Twitch chat is debating Uno strategies, which I'm a big fan of. Quality game. Someone pulling out the Uno reverse if they try to take them out into turn number 1 of an open lobby. This was our equivalent. I think we should call this the open lobby Creator Series race.
Yeah, I mean, it would sum up what we saw quite well, all the action throughout. So you only really see that in open lobbies. Quite a few crashes as well. Very reminiscent of what you see in open lobbies. But you know, it was really good racing, I have to say. Definitely would like to see that one coming back again, maybe in future seasons.
Definitely, yeah. It'd be fascinating to see it in the main F1 series as well. Though I don't think that would necessarily work. If we had a sprint, maybe, but 100% race with no track limits, that could be carnage. And I think we'd only have about 4 drivers left come the end of it, especially if we're at a track like Mexico, where we lost 5 drivers in the first 5 laps or so, or maybe even less than that, first 3 laps potentially.
Yeah, I think Mexico really suits this rule set. Actually, there's quite a lot of tracks which just wouldn't really work. Spain jumps to mind. There's only really 1 or 2 corners you can actually cut where you'd actually gain any time. So you do have to play it quite carefully with the tracks you pick for it. But now here we are once again in the pit lane now for the one-shot qualifying. All the drivers just getting ready, putting on their setups again, and shouldn't be too long before we see some on-track action again.
A little bit overcast, the sun just poking through those very, very grey clouds indeed. 5 seconds to go. Somebody is being a bit of a slow coach, being a bit too delayed putting their setup on. Who do we want to ride with, though, for our one-shot qualifying session?
Well, I think let's head over at first. We should, for sure, if we can get on board with him at least. The leaderboard's moving all over the place, so we'll let them settle for just a moment. Over to Kryzix, and he's actually leading us, heading down the start-finish straight. Adam Sanderson up at the front end as well. Looks like he might be running quite low wings, as we expected. Formula Karim disqualifying himself early on.
Absolutely, yeah. Hayden Gullis down at the back of the pack as well, along with F1 Scott, potentially surprisingly, and GB. There's the disqualification for Formula Kareem. Kryzix just clattering the curbs a little bit too aggressively through that first chicane, losing him a couple of places. It's Adam Sanderson who is going to be purple through the first sector, with Bushy Ants in the Van Amersfoort in hot pursuit.
Yeah, Adam Sanderson looks to be doing really strong. He's led pretty much the entire thing. GB up at that top end as well. He's looking pretty strong. But yeah, Adam Sanderson in that Prema, currently leading us away here for the pole position.
Never picked up a pole position before in F2 Creator Series. Adam Sanderson, but he's invalidated in the middle sector, and that ruins all of the chances that he was thinking about getting, and that is qualifying ruined. And here's one of the drivers we spoke about earlier, embarrassing himself in front of the nation, and Adam Sanderson started from 17th, where pole position was very much for the taking. It's Kryzix who reassumes the lead. Tess Will in the battle. Bushy Ants has made a mistake, was second, drops all the way down into 15th. Yes, he must have invalidated as well. It's Kryzix versus Tess Will. Arseno in there as well. Could it be an ART 1-2? F Scott's come out of nowhere to jump up into third. What can GB do, taking the short run to the line? It's Kryzix by a couple of tenths of a second. The 2 Rodin cars sat behind, and then Arseno making it a Noah's Ark 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, very, very close there in the end. Only a couple tenths separating those drivers, and quite a lot of invalidations in the end. If we actually look, only 9 drivers, as we saw in Brazil a few seasons ago. Only 9 drivers setting a valid lap time.
Wow, and the field spread actually not looking too bad either. Top 4 covered by, well, top 5 covered by half a second. Emphatic right in there as well. Then a bit of a gap back to Chesnoid Gaming. The big names, though, Bush Yance invalidating, Adam Sanson invalidating, Formula Kareem trying to do a last to first. Going to be starting from unlucky P13 rather than position number 19. Hayden Gullis, 19th. Zach RC, F1 Alex making a mistake in there as well. A lot of big names messing up that one-shot qualifying lap. An opportunity, perhaps, for somebody right at the sharp end. And it's a first grade series pole position as well for Kryzix.
Yeah, very good opportunity for him starting from that pole position, but it is the longest run down towards turn 1 of any track. Sometimes pole position is not where you actually want to be starting. The slipstream can be very powerful. And F1 Scott starting in P3, he's going to have a great run down towards the first corner.
Yeah, my faith is restored in F1 Scott. He's back in the running, but it is Kryzix who was on pole, and he is going to be the favourite in the race. Formula Kareem, I wonder if he will drop all the way back to last place or whether he'll just settle for being 13th and just do his last to first from there. He did something similar in Monaco, I believe, where he tried to do a last to first but couldn't quite get into last place and then just sort of went with it there. Hayden Gullis from the back of the grid as well. Can he repeat the heroics we saw in the sprint race from last up into 5th? Will he get somewhere similar? We'll have to wait and see. Strategy as well going to be very, very interesting. Those super soft tyres look like they held on pretty well.
Yeah, but obviously we weren't taking the S's like we will be right now. I think the tyre wear is going to end up being a lot higher in this race. Maybe they can do a little bit longer than we were originally expecting. Here we go now for the formation lap, though.
Getting ready to go, and it is only 2 teams filling the first 2 rows on the grid. ART 1-4, Rodin 2-3, and look at that, almost identically split down the middle with most of the leading contenders on the super softs, with the exception of F1 Scott on the soft tyres. He is the outlier in the top 10. Adam Sanson then on the softs, Hoodie Pete super softs, and then it's mixed further down. Formula Kareem favouring the soft tyres, as does Hayden Gullis and F1 Alex. So watch out for F1 Scott in these early stages. He might lose a couple of places, but he will be strong come the end of this race.
Yeah, definitely. Tyre wump going to be a big issue for him. Already seeing 4 disqualifications here. Some drivers coming to blows already through the first sector of this formation lap. But yeah, F1's got the tyre warm-up through this formation lap going to be really tricky for him. He doesn't want to put too much wear into his tyres either. You can always see him weaving, trying to get that temperature into those soft compound tyres. But yeah, Arsenault, GB, and Fratic, Chesnoid all behind him on the super softs. They're going to be really eager to make up some positions on the race start here, and they can see their prey in front of him. They're going to be hungry for this one.
100%. I'm surprised that Hayden Gullis is still going on this formation lap. Hasn't taken anybody out yet. He usually picks somebody that he wants to target and ruins their formation lap, but at the moment it seems like he's still going, although I can see a Trident very much out of position in the mid-pack. Is he going for his teammate Emphatic? Maybe. No, he's already overtaken him. Who has Hayden Gullis got his eyes on? I think it might be a little bit too late. No, he goes into the back of the Kick Sauber livery car of F1 Scott, and he's not going to be very happy about that, because on the slower tyres, the colder tyres, he's now going to be trying to get off the grid with effectively icicles forming around those soft compound tyres.
Yeah, definitely not going to be helping him at all. Kryzix might end up out of position as he tries to maneuver his way around F1 Scott there on the grid. He's pointing very far over to the left-hand side of the track. We've got a car stopped on the side of the track there as well. Not sure who that is, but they're out of position.
I mean, if he wants to start from there, I believe it was Hoodie Pete in the Williams liveried MP Motorsport car. That's an audacious attempt to try and gain an advantage off the grid, but he has jumped back into his grid spot, which is position number 12. We wait for the final car to come round the final corner as we get ready to go for the feature race. Remember, returning to normal racing rules, track limits are very much on. I think we could be seeing quite a few penalties dished out throughout the course of this race. And there is the flash, the timing chart's gone. And we are getting ready to go for the feature race here in Mexico City. 20 laps ahead of us, Kryzix versus Test Will, 5 lights ahead of the drivers. And we are underway. Very good start from a driver further back. I think that's Formula Kareem having an absolute stinker off the grid. Good start for F1 Scott as well. Kryzix from pole has had an absolute stinker, and it's Arsenault and Test Will getting out like a tracer bullet down this very long run into turn number 1. Good start for GB as well. Kryzix from first all the way down to 5th in that ART car. Bit of jostling for position in the midfield, but it's Test Will who now leads the race. The dams of GB getting caught up in a squabble between himself and the former pole sitter of Kryzix. Emphatic pushing F1 Scott down a position, and we've got Hoodie Pete running off the track. Yeah,
it was a great launch off the grid from Test Will, getting himself up to P1 immediately off the start. That was exactly what he needed to do, and those behind squabbling for positions now could give him a chance to start to pull away a little bit.
Oh, we've got a Prema into the back of an Invicta car there. I think that was Adam Sanson getting very brave on the brakes, too brave in fact. And now he smashes into Dan the Man again. And we've got a car park coming through turn number 7. A lot of drivers involved in that. Adam Sanson at the centre of it, the epicenter of that. And, well, we've lost the timing chart there. No safety car called out. No front wing for the Prema car. He's taken Hayden Gullis. He's taken F1 Alex with him. And, yeah, absolute carnage. Living up to Devon Butler's name right there.
Yeah, not a great move from him. Went a little bit too late on the brakes, and it has cost him as well. A lot of drivers getting involved in that one. Fortunately, nobody out of the race yet, though. They can still continue on.
Absolutely, yes. Test Wheel still leading by 0.4 of a second. This is emphatic all over the back of F1 Scott, whose soft compound tyres should be coming up to temperature about now. But look at the extra grip that Emphatic's got going through the Piratella. Another yellow flag in the stadium section. This time we have a virtual safety car coming out. Is that Adam Sanson again? We've got a Trident backwards. It's Hayden Gullis who's been turned around. And we've got both Premas now in the wall. Zakar C minus her front wing. Danvers right at the back of the pack as well. Penalties for Sanderson and for Gullis and for Danvers. That is not ideal at all for those guys. I think we're going back to lawnmowers. Maybe snow plows, though, is the definition that we can apply there.
Another 10-second penalty there for Sanderson as well. As they're stopped on the grid, are they trying to bring out the full safety car here? Or are they just waiting with Edza? He's got the pit limiter on.
Oh, that is very interesting indeed.
Are they supposed to be in the pit lane right now?
That would be absolutely interesting. I'd be fascinated to see what's going on here. If somebody can report back to us what is going on in the Prema world, I think we'd be absolutely fascinated to know. Danvers is in the pits. Hayden Gullis
still stuck on the limiter.
As well.
Oh, they're in the pit lane.
Oh, we've jumped back. We've jumped back in the pits. I think we've restored normality, but we're going once again. It's Test Wheel leading Arseno, GB, then Kryzix and Infratic a further second back.
Yeah, pretty decent start from GB as well, into P3 now, and he is going to be pushing on to try and get into his first race win here, I think. Going to be really eager to pick this one up on the back of Arseno. And yeah, going to be some great racing in the coming laps. DRS going to be enabled once we cross the finish line, though. The first DRS detection point coming through that middle sector.
Very close. Nose to tail, the top four. Kryzix, his first pole position in the Creator Series, going sour very, very quickly. Big battle at the back. Formula Kareem, a big beneficiary from the opening lap chaos that we saw, back up into 9th position. Wants to be 7th by the time we get to the end of this straight, battling away with Ultra Killer. Duncan getting involved as well. Are we going to see the lead changing hands? It's Arseno around the outside of Test Wheel, keeping it within track limits, but it's the Rodin smashing the Sochi curb on the inside and then clattering into the back of the ART, and that's allowing GB68 to swoop around the outside in his Dams car. We could be 3 wide again. GB has to slot into position behind. It's Kryzix nibbling at the heels of both of them now down into turn number 4. It's Arseno from Test Wheel. GB up the inside of Kryzix, and there's a spinner. We're almost spinning in sympathy. Synchronized sliding for Test Wheel and GB. Kryzix says thank you very much, and we reassert an ART 1-2.
Yeah, Kryzix going from 4th to 2nd in a matter of a few corners, benefiting from that contact between Test Wheel and GB. Yeah, GB coming off worse from that one, I have to say, going down a position there, losing out. And yeah, now down to P4, gonna have some work to do here in this feature race. F1 Scott still within this DRS train for the race leads, well on those soft combat tyres. His tyres could start to come alive in the next few laps. And GB still all over the back of Test Wheel as he's almost pushing that Rodin car along through this final sector of the track.
100%, yeah, and it's allowed Emphatic and F1 Scott to close up to the back of this squabble. It's ART 1-2, but not in the order they were on the grid. It's Arseno from 4th on the grid into 1st, but Kryzix with the fastest lap of the race. Change that. It's F1 Scott on the soft compact tyres. Formula Kareem now nabs it. People taking the fastest lap like it's going out of fashion. Kryzix taking the lead of the race. Meanwhile, down into turn number 1 like child's play with the helping hand of DRS. Big gap back to Test Wheel. He's trying to hold on to 3rd place, but he's at the mercy of GB in the dams. He goes straight up the inside. A little bit of contact in there, a little bit of bumping and grinding, but it matters not because the dams is up into 3rd.
Fortunately for GB, he's able to hold on to the DRS as well. It's just about a second. If he can hold this on through the next sector, he could be on for a great shot in this race.
100%, yeah, Emphatic lurking right underneath the rear wing of the Rodin as well, but that's a little bit deep for GB down into turn number 4. Bit of a slide on the exit. Emphatic opportunistic as ever up the inside of the pair of them down into the double apex. Turn number 6 is Test Will that gets squeezed out. F1 Scott trying to make mincemeat of his teammate as well. Who's going to come out on top? It's GB around the outside. Emphatic just about clinging onto 4th position, runs off the road in the process, but does keep the 2 Rodin cars behind him.
Look at the gap the top 2 have pulled now over GB as well. With this battling, Kryzix actually breaking the DRS over his teammate and Arseno breaking the DRS over GB.
Got to be careful as well because Formula Kareem is coming at a rate of knots. Just 1.3 seconds now between himself and F1 Scott. Bit of a slide, locking the rears is GB going through the stadium section. He's going to be under huge pressure coming out of the Piratella from a couple of cars behind him.
Yeah, here we go now once again down the start-finish straight. DRS about to get opened up for another blast down towards turn number 1. F1 Scott tucked up right behind Tess Will, his teammate, who's tucked up right behind Infratic as they make their way towards the chicane. Tess Will up the inside. Here comes Infratic as well now for P3. Fighting it out, Tess Will on the inside. F1 Scott on the inside now as well, trying to squeeze his way through. 3 wide into turn 2. Is there going to be contact? Looks like they've just about managed to make it through unscathed. F1 Scott down to P6, GB down to P5 as well, losing a couple positions in their squabbles.
Someone call the police, though, because that was daylight robbery from GB getting 5th place back around the outside of F1 Scott, who was caught napping a little bit going through the first chicane. Formula Kareem was closed right up onto the tail of this quartet, making a sextuple. That's not the right word. Bumping going through turn number 6 is Infratic. Says, get on with it, Tesla, but he loses it coming out of the corner and drops all the way to the back of this pack.
Yeah, and losing the position to Bushians as well. He couldn't get the power down. They're fighting through the S's now as they go wheel to wheel, making their way through this middle sector. Who's going to come out on top by the time they get to the next corner? Bushians holds on to the position for now, but Infratic going to get the DRS here down into the stadium section. Can he get the move down the inside? Can't quite do it here, just backs out. Holds off for now. B-Roy picks up a 3-second time penalty as well in his battles further back for those final points positions down at the back end of the grid.
Heart in mouth moment for the pair of them, but it was laser-like precision as they went through the S's to keep it out of the barriers. That is contact, though, in the middle sector as B-Roy and Duncan getting stuck into each other as they debate 12th and 13th place. The high-tech car with a penalty over his head, along with F1 Alex, the car in front, who is pushing Hoodie Pete round the Piratella in battle for 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th position. GB and F1 Scott, in fact, getting past Tess Will, who's getting mugged down the straight, dropping from 3rd all the way back to 6th. Formula Kareem thinking that he can potentially get past Scott and get out of the road in sandwich, but he can't quite make it stick.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be too much longer before we start to see some pit stops from these super soft runners. How strong do you think the undercut is going to be around here?
I think it's going to be very, very strong because of how hard everybody is battling. Formula Kareem thought about a little look up the inside of F1 Scott into turns number 4 and 5. It gets a very good exit. Will the Rodent go defensive? Maybe attack is the best form of defense for Scott to try and hold on to 4th and try and get past GB in the battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th position with Tess Will, a very willing spectator behind. We've got a yellow flag further back. I think we've got a high-tech facing the wrong way. Chesnoid Gaming's in the pits. That is B-Roy face first into the barrier, and we have a virtual safety car.
Yep, we've had one mandatory pit stop completed from Chesnoid. Everybody else still yet to come into the box. Chesnoid onto the soft compound tire, and missing end plate, I think, on that high-tech car for B-Roy, as he's going to have to limp his way back to the pit lane. Probably going to be looking for a wing change and a tire change as well. He's on those super soft tires. But Kreidlik's doing very well out in front. His teammate behind an ART 1-2 as it stands. GB holding on to the podium positions, but these guys swabble away hard. And GB picks up a drive-through! Oh no!
It's contagious, these. Getting penalties under getting drive-through penalties under VSC has become fashionable so far this season. A lot of drivers picking them up, and it's a race ruiner for GB and the Dams as F1 Scott and Formula Kareem both file past the Dams car, who is defenseless on the run down into turn number 1. Kareem not satisfied with 4th place, wanted to get up onto the podium. Little jink over to the right, but couldn't make it stick up the inside.
Yeah, just about holding on to the position. F1 Scott up into the podium positions now, and the lead car on those soft compound tyres. Formula Kareem, though, from 13th on the grid, now in the battle for the podium as well, and he's not going to be too far until he is actually into that lead fight as well.
Absolutely, yes. Around the outside we go with the Campos, and Formula Kareem is now up into the podium place, but a bit of a wobble on the exit. No invitation needed for F1 Scott to send it straight back up the inside. A reclaimed 3rd position for the time being. Arseno a further 1.5 seconds up in front of this pair. And Scott just about holding on to 3rd. Kareem couldn't quite send it around the outside into the fast left-hander of turn number 7. And just have to be stuck behind this Sauber livery Rodent car through these middle sector S's.
Yeah, going to be quite frustrating for him, getting stuck behind F1 Scott through that section. Going to be costing him a bit of time. He wants to get in on this fight for the race. Now he's going to have a look maybe around the outside here through the stadium section. Can't quite get it done there, but going to try and set himself up for a great run now down the start finish with the DRS as well. F1 Scott 1.2 behind Arseno, so no DRS for him. And in fact, he's into the pit lane, Arseno, I think. Yes, it is. So he's off of those super soft compound tyres. GB picks up a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. It's all falling apart. Test Will. Collision with GB gets a penalty. Maybe GB got pushed into the pit lane.
Potentially, that's a very strange one indeed, but both of their races have been ruined. We've got a yellow flag again. I think we've got a high-tech facing the wrong way. Is that Bira who's dropped it again? No, he's doing donuts through the stadium section. It's not lap number 20 yet, Bira. It's only lap number 7. You're going to have to continue on. Formula Kareem holding on to second place with emphatic 2.5 seconds off the back of F1 Scott Bushiance now completes our top 5. That's very early for a pit stop from Arsene, though. Obviously didn't fancy those super soft tyres any longer.
Yeah, quite surprised to see him going that early. I mean, we were expecting the wear to be quite bad, but yeah, one of the first to go on this lap test. We'll go in with him, of course, and it was Chesnoid a couple laps ago. B-Ray in the pit lane as well. But yeah, quite interesting to see it as we now see who's that? That's Hayden Gullis going around the outside of Dan Moran, trying to get the move done here through the first sector. Backing off though, Dan holding onto the P10 for now.
Yeah, Dan the man under significant pressure from Hayden Gullis, but resisting it so far with some excellent defensive moves pulled out through turns 4, 5, 6, and now turn 7 with Hayden Gullis. A little bit wide though, the Invicta. Is that all the invitation that is needed for Hayden Gullis? Please and thank yous as he swoops up the inside. That becomes the outside, the Trident up into the top 10. The race leaders into the pits. Gryzik's getting rid of his purple striped super soft tyres. Arsene with a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. That could prove crucial in the battle for the podium places. Formula Kareem, though, is now the leader of the race.
Yeah, F1 Scott has managed to get himself back within the 1 second down the straight, but crucially, no DRS flap open for the Rodin car. He's going to have to fight this one on the track. No DRS to aid him in catching back up to Formula Kareem, so it's going to be pure pace for him through these next few corners.
100%, yeah. Scott doing whatever he can to keep up with the fastest driver in the F2 Creator Series. That gap stabilising a little bit at the moment, around 8 or 9 tenths of a second. Then a big gap back to F1 Alex in that Invicta car with that's Hoodie Pete going off the road in his attempts to try and hold on to 5th place. Is this going to be civil war round number 3 between the two MP Motorsport cars? Because Ultra Killer thinking about a move up the inside. It was actually Hoodie Pete that had the DRS in the Williams livery car, and he holds on to 5th position.
Yeah, Arsene already cutting his way through the traffic here, approaching the back of Dan Moran. Can't quite find a way through there down into turn 4. They're going to have to sit behind him. This is going to cost him time in his business at the undercut, but he's going to go round the outside at turn 5, getting alongside and ahead now, swooping his way around through the hairpin of turn 6, and that should give him that P9 position. He can set his sights after Hayden Gullis, and then it's Crysis in front of him, but look at the time he's lost to our net race leader in just these few laps in the traffic.
Absolutely textbook though around the outside, beautifully executed by Arsene to get past Dan Moran and up into what is 9th place. Now he's got Hayden Gullis to deal with though, and then his teammate a further 2 seconds up the road. Biro with a penalty, and he is retired from the race, slamming it into the wall. Is that going to bring out a safety car? It's brought out a virtual safety car. That is not ideal at all for drivers that were thinking about pitting on this lap, notably F1 Alex.
Did he get in time though for it to be called? We've got the pit lane.
He's jumped out of the pits. What's going on?
What?
I don't know if this is actually what's happening. He's picked up a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pits, but it looked like he teleported out of the pit lane and onto the main straight.
Hayden Gullis with a penalty as well.
Oh, people picking up penalties like they're going out of fashion. Hayden with the next one, 10 seconds as he jumps into the pits to get rid of those soft compound tyres, but it's under the virtual safety car.
Yeah, surely these, I'm going to count, maybe F1 Alex got in time. Just before this VSC got called, he was entering a little bit early, probably preemptively when he saw those yellow flags, but I'm not sure if Hayden's got in time. We are back racing once again. Formula Kareem leading F1 Scott still in second, just 1.2 seconds behind. Currently not in the DRS though, and losing a little bit of time here through the middle sector as well. Duncan up to P3, but yes, still plenty of pit stops to come up at the top end of the field.
Most definitely, yeah. F1 Alex with another penalty for corner cutting. Duncan has taken over 3rd place. Then it's these two warring teammates taking over 4th and 5th. The MP Motorsport cars have, well, they're probably going to be sick of each other by the end of this Mexican Grand Prix because they've been joined at the hip for the majority of it, the sprint and the feature race, but they're in a very decent position at the moment, albeit not having made their first stops of the race. Cryzik, the net race leader, is a further 3.5 seconds further back. Formula Kareem opening the gap up between himself and F1 Scott. That's now 1.7 seconds.
On Alex with a 10-second penalty for corner cutting. Not sure where that's happened, but looks like it was down at turn 4. We've got a car coming to the pit lane. That's one of the MP cars. It's going to be Ultra Killer. This is his time to make his mandatory pit stop onto the soft compound tyres for himself. That will take him nicely to the end of the race.
That's exactly why they were dueling so hard over that track position, because Hoodie Pete wanted to come in before his teammate, but he couldn't. He was sat behind him and he didn't really want to queue underneath the rear wing of his teammate. Another yellow flag, and we've got a safety car. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I think we've had Is that a Trident or a Dams that's dropped it coming out of the final corner? No, it must be F1 Alex. Yes, it is F1 Alex.
Gonna try and get into the pit lane here as well. Does manage to get in. Really risky there, reversing down the start-finish straight. Almost got disqualified. That's going to help him. He had that pit stop, which probably wasn't a mandatory pit stop. I'm not sure what is going on here with this bug. He just picked up a penalty for track limits while in the pit lane as well.
I am hugely confused about what's going on. This does benefit the likes of Formula Kareem and F1 Scott, who can make their pit stop under the safety car and will come out right underneath the rear wing, you would imagine, of the net race leader in Kryzix. Apparently these cars are in the pit, but we don't actually see them go down pit road. There they are in the pit lane, eventually jumping in. We'll just ignore that and pretend nothing has happened. I mean, Rob's got it exactly. The expensive lawnmowers using the portal gun. I think that is exactly what's happened. You've hit the nail on the head there, my friend.
Yeah, okay, and into the pit now come our leaders. Off those soft compound tyres, they took them just over half race distance. It's going to be about 7 or 8 laps on the ultra softs, which was super soft, sorry, still in 2019 in my brain. Yeah, going to be about 7 laps, I would say, once this safety car ends, maybe 6 if they're lucky. 10-second penalty for Duncan for speeding in the pit lane. That could prove costly for him, but this safety car really going to help him as well, going to bring him up a few positions.
Imagine you just drive and then all of a sudden a car appears in your face. It's the ultimate jump scare, isn't it? Just driving down the pit straight, minding your own business, and then a Bramer just appears in front of you. You've got very little time to try and avoid him. A couple of drivers doing that. I'm not sure if this is actually what's happening or whether it's just the spectator cam where we're seeing drivers come into the pits and then teleport out onto their grid position. I'm not really sure. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we're doing some kind of IndyCar pit stop where we do the tyre changes on the main straight. Who knows? Yeah,
well, crucially for Kryzix, he has managed to come back out in the race lead, but he's on old soft compound tyres. He's done 3 laps on these tyres already. The guys behind are on brand new super soft tyres, and with a limited number of laps to go in this race, he could be very vulnerable in the next few moments.
Yeah, Formula Kareem is going to be licking his lips at the opportunity to get another race victory this season. Don't discount F1 Scott. Pace was solid and has found himself in a legitimate 3rd place on the faster compound of tyres. Infratic taking over 4th. Then it's the 2 Van Amersfoort cars who find themselves in 5th and 6th. The 2 MP Motorsport cars with Arseno dropped in between them. Arseno went for another pit stop as that safety car came out to put on the soft compound tyres again. Was that a wise call? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he's done that. I mean, he was on old soft tyres. He did 4 laps on that compound. Yeah, not too sure why he's made that decision though. Going to have cost him a couple positions on the track. But I guess maybe he feels he would have lost more having the old tyres.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm surprised he didn't put the super soft tyres on either, to be fair.
Yeah, maybe he feels the tyre wear was too bad on the super softs come the end of the stint. And he knows there's going to be about 7 laps of racing to the end. Does take quite a while actually for these F2 cars to catch up. I think we're going to have some cars getting lapped here. Danvers and F1 Alex as we make our way down the start finish straight. It looks like it might just be F1 Alex who's going to be lapped by quite a few cars. Hopefully for his sake he'll be able to get himself unlapped, but it's going to be quite a challenge. But yeah, still plenty of cars yet to catch up to our leader.
The field spread is absolutely enormous here on lap number 13. We've got the top 11 covered by 37 seconds. Then it's a further 20 odd seconds back to Ches, Dan the man in there. Somehow Adam Sanderson is still in this race despite the skirmishes he's been involved in. Haven't seen too much of Hayden Gullis after the opening lap. There is a Van Amersfoort running very, very wide. I think that's to try and let F1 Alex back through so he can get himself back on the lead lap and try and charge up after the snake when the safety car does eventually come into the pits.
Yeah, just waiting for everybody to get out the way. Going to be quite frustrating as he sat there and people aren't moving. Not sure which car it is in front of him, but yeah. He wants as much time as he can to try and catch up. Very eager, getting alongside. I think he's going to pick up an illegal overtake here. Might try and push. I think it's Infratic there. Might try and give him a nudge off the track to get the position. Looks like Infratic finally bailing out and let's F1 Alex through. Only 3 more cars to get past now. F1 Scott, Formula Karim and Kryzix, and they're getting out the way very nicely for him. So he will be able to start to catch up. He might not have enough time though under this safety car to catch up, but if we do get another late safety car, everyone fits onto a set of the super soft tyres, he could have a shot to try and cut through the field and get himself up into that top 15, maybe pick up a point or 2.
100%, and the safety car shouldn't be coming in this lap because half the field is still in sector number 1, but Yeah, F1 Alex has managed to get through. He's not being allowed to overtake the safety car just yet, so he's going to have to sit right at the front of the train. That's not going to be particularly helpful for Cryzix. Is that his opportunity to bolt and try and catch everybody else up? I think it is, and that Invicta finally has been released to try and chase after the rest of the crew. Nice, lovely bit of sportsmanship and camaraderie working there as everybody got out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, again, today we're all here to have fun. Sitting there a lap down, nobody's going to enjoy that. So everyone works together, help each other out, and we can all have some great fun.
And that's the message that we're trying to get across. Fun, the most important thing here in the Creator Series. I think we're going to have a barnstorming finish to this race. Cryzix on the slower, older compound of tyres. How long will those super softs be at optimal performance? Can Formula Cream first of all get into the lead and then build out a gap to Cryzix so that when those soft tyres become the faster tyre, he doesn't get closed in on by the pole sitter?
Yeah, definitely. So we still got P11 30 seconds behind the train. Still waiting for them to catch up. Looking at that lap counter now, we're going to have 6 laps of racing, it looks like. I expect the safety car will come in at the end of this lap anyway. We've already had, I think, 3 laps behind the safety car, and I think that is as long as it goes. So we might see actually quite a few drivers not even manage to catch up.
Yeah, I wonder if... Well, they can't still have deltas, can they? Because we're at the leader has caught the safety car. They're just taking quite a while to catch up to the back of the train. We've only got the top 10 in this queue. The first driver behind is Ches in P11, 17 seconds off the back of the race leader, 11 behind Testbill. But eventually, they're all catching up, and the safety car is going to be in this lap. So F1 Alex is going to be very unhappy indeed, along with Dallas and those drivers that are just coming through the S's now.
Yeah, well, we might see some more camaraderie. Cryzix going very slowly through the final sector. Going to give a lot of these drivers one last chance to catch up here as we see Chesnoy joining the queue. Dan Moran and Adam Sanderson joining in now as well. And GB and Hayden should be joining in just a second. That rounds out all 15 of our points finishers as it stands right now.
Cryzix backing the pack up very slowly indeed, giving people an opportunity to jump on the back of the snake and not have their race ruined by the safety car coming in. Still waiting for him to bolt round the Piratella, and there we go to give us the green light because we are ready to go again. And it's Cryzix leading us on to lap number 15 with Formula Cream sat in the slipstream of the pole sitter and potentially thinking about mounting an assault down into turn number 1. He's gaining all the time. The gap now under 0.2 of a second. Cryzix is going to have to go defensive. Is this going to be very easy indeed for the championship leader to swoop over to the middle of the circuit and take the lead of the feature race for the second time? Cryzix defending around the outside. Formula Cream made to go the long way around. Clatters the curb on the inside now. F1 Scott thinking he can get involved in this on the run up into turn number 4. Are we going to be 3 wide? Not enough room for the road, and he's going to have to dart over to the left-hand side, but I don't think he's willing to risk that one. It's Kareem around the outside. Cryzix later on the brakes. Does he just have enough room, Kareem, to hold it up the inside? Yes. Switches to the inside. He's going to get a shove for good measure as well as Cryzix, and now the Campos is going to assume the lead of the race.
Yeah, here comes F1 Scott as well. Got a good run out of there. Cryzix going quite wide. Looks like F1 Scott, they're just going to back out as they head into the S's now. Frantic right on the back of Scott as well, trying to get himself up into those podium positions. Lots of battles happening further back as well on that opening lap. Everybody bunched right up. Hoodie Pete picks up a 3-second time penalty for the track limits. Coming into the final sector now. Formula Kareem 6/10, now 7/10 ahead of Cryzix. He is pushing hard and he is pulling away on those super soft tyres. They are working very well for him.
He wants to get this pack out of the DRS range. He's doing a very successful job indeed. Zach Garcia with a penalty. We've got a card attached to the back of the pack. F1 Alex with another penalty, and he's going to retire from the race. The second retiree so far. F1 Scott is going to be next on the list to try and push the pole sitter Cryzix further down the field, but he hasn't had a very good run out of the Piratella.
We have a safety car.
Going to be comfortable. We've got a safety car again, yeah.
Yeah, F1 Alex crashing down at turn 6. Safety car's deployed. The leader has gone past crucially, but is anybody going to take the gamble onto a set of onto super soft tyres? Obviously, some of the guys down at the back going to have a much easier job because they're only going to lose 1 or 2 positions. But these guys up at the front, we have passed the safety car. They will get the free pit stop.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think it's really going to be worth it. We're going to have maybe, a couple of laps of the safety car here. We saw how difficult it was for people to catch up under the previous safety car. So I'd be surprised if anyone in the top 6 or 7 decides this is the time to come in. I think they'll just want to bank these very, very decent points and drive off into the sunset. Yeah,
well, most of the cars have caught up. Danvers quite a way back, still in the pit lane right now. But I think Adam and Ches should be able to catch up to this train under the safety car. worst case scenario, we only get 2 laps of racing. That would be safety car in at the end of lap 18, which would be another 2 laps behind the safety car. That doesn't seem too unrealistic, so it might just be 2 laps of racing that we're going to see here.
100%, yeah. Formula Cream with a sedate pace out in front, I think is the best way to put it, as everyone tries to abide by the delta enforced on them, and we are going to see who's going to take the punt, who is going to roll the dice and make a trip into the pits with just 4 laps remaining. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the drivers on the older soft compound tyres further down the field, somebody like Test Will or GB68 thinks it's time to come in. Bit of a dummy over to the right-hand side from Cream and F1 Scott, but they continue on. Everybody files round the final corner, and nobody is taking the chance. That
surprises me, to be honest. I'm surprised, especially with Zach. He has nothing to lose there to go onto a set of super soft tyres. He wouldn't lose a single position. Unless he doesn't have any tyres left. Let me just have a look. No, I think he would have another tyre. I'm not sure what the allocation is here in the F2, but he's used a super soft and 2 soft tyres. I'm not sure. I would have thought they would have another super soft available to them, but yeah.
Yeah, nobody willing to take a risk. Is that Ches retiring in the pits with a 10-second penalty? Hopefully he doesn't jump back onto the starting grid. Is the high-tech going to pull into the pit box? Yes, we finally got somebody making a live pit stop. What a momentous occasion that is, as he puts on a set of the soft compound tyres and will go again, potentially thinking he can pick up a couple of points, because I imagine there is going to be carnage on the safety car restart. I can bet you $1 that there'll be carnage. In fact, the safety car may come in this lap. It may go for 1 more.
Yeah, and if it does go for 1 more, that will be that 2 laps of racing we saw. We won't see any DRS. It will be a straight fight on the track, and gonna be a very close one indeed. Formula Carrium leading on the pretty much brand new super softs. Cryzix in second, 8 lap old, basically 3 laps of racing I think it was on the softs. F1 Scott in third. He's on the super softs as well. He could have a great shot here to pick up his first feature race win. Yeah, really nice position for him. If he can get past Cryzix on the restart, straight fight between him and Formula Carrium, equal tyres between the pair of them. Could be a really, really interesting one.
Yeah, you feel that obviously the safety car not going to come in here unless we see something absolutely outrageous, but no, that Aston Martin does round the final corner to go for 1 more lap. The safety car will be in at the end of lap number 18 to give us 2 laps of racing, but the only shot that Cryzix has realistically is getting past Kareem straight away.
Yeah, he's got to get past, park the bus, and pray that down that start-finish straight, that long start-finish straight, he can pull enough of a margin that he doesn't get overtaken. With that slipstream being so powerful, I think it's going to be nigh on impossible, to be honest, for the ART driver to hold on to this one.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. He might have to be looking in his mirrors more than he is looking outside of the halo in front of him, because F1 Scott will be sniffing an opportunity. Scott will back himself here to try and pick up a first race win in the Creator Series. You can see Formula Kareem there, just in the lead of the race. It's only going to be a couple of tenths of a second. If he gets past Cryzix down into turn 1, he will very much fancy his chances. But remember, we won't get any DRS either. That could make it a little bit harder for people to overtake.
Yeah, I don't think... Actually, let me get the penalties up. They're going to prove quite important. I was just about to say we shouldn't count Duncan out for the podium, but he actually has a 10-second time penalty. So the only other driver, I think, in that top 10 on these super soft tyres, the next car, P13 Hayden Gullis, unfortunately with a 10-second time penalty. So it looks like we will be seeing at least one of the soft runners finishing on the podium here.
100%. Who do you think is going to win this one, everybody? Get your predictions in. A couple of laps of racing to go. The safety car will peel off into the pits. There is a beautiful message out in front. And this time it will be Formula Kareem to back the pack up and get ready to go.
Yeah, very, very slow restart here. Heading into the stadium section. Formula Kareem backing them right up. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Dumbus and Chesnoid are going to be able to catch up. So they won't, I don't think, get a shot at a chance at the points here. Looks like the gap is just going to be a little bit too big. Both of them also carrying time penalties would not help them either way. But here we go now through the stadium section. Chesno with another 3-second time penalty. When is Formula Karim going to make the jump? He doesn't want to tow Cryzix down this start straight. Here we go racing once again here in Mexico. F1 Scott going to be pushing hard to try and get the overtake done on Cryzix. They're all the way over to the right hand side of the track, running along that white line down the pit lane now. as they make their way down towards turn 1. No one wants to give an inch by the time they get to turn 1. And here comes Cryzix now for the race lead. He's making the move immediately. F1 Scott under pressure from Emphatic as well. But Cryzix and Formula Karim coming to blows here down into turn 1. Cryzix gets the move done though. That's a crucial move here in the race. And now F1 Scott going to set its sights after the other super soft runner down towards turn 4. But Formula Karim going to put the pressure on Cryzix once again as he makes his way down towards chicane. Who's going to be latest on the brakes? Cryzix on the inside, Karim on the outside. It's going to switch up though into the next corner. Cryzix on the outside now, Karim on the inside, going to try and get the move done. F1 Scott with a great exit, could have a shot now down the inside into P2 potentially, but doesn't look like he's quite going to get the exit, although Cryzix not getting a great one. Here comes F1 Scott now round the outside, heading into the S's.
Karim will not want Scott to get this place, and Cryzix with a 3-second penalty. Well, that ruins any chance he was going to get a finishing on the podium, and Emphatic suddenly his eyes have opened out very wide, but that's commentator's curse right there. As soon as he thinks about a chance of getting on the podium, he picks up a 3-second penalty. Now it's Bushians potentially to get his first podium of his Creator Series return. Formula Karim comfortable at the moment as we come on to start the final lap of the race in the stadium section for the penultimate time. 7/10 is the advantage. F1 Scott, time is running out to get past the ART and challenge Karim.
Yeah, he's now 1.3 seconds almost behind Formula Karim with only one lap of racing, no DRS to help him out. It looks nigh on impossible for F1 Scott, but he's going to give it everything. Don't forget, there could be time penalties to come in just a moment if one of them does head outside of those track limits. It could be so easy on this final lap as they push hard to try and finish this race as high as they can.
Karim trying to break the toad, does it successfully. Cryzix can't get anywhere near him. And that is a battle for 6th and 7th as Arseno pushes Duncan further down the order. Arseno trying to pick up a couple of points with a 3-second penalty lingering over his head. Big slide for GB. He could pick up a decent haul of points as well. There's Hayden Gullis in 12th, just outside the top 10. Testwheel battling very, very hard with Ultra Killer over 9th and 10th. The gap is 4/10 for second. F1 Scott a further 6/10 back.
Yeah, I think at this point, unless there's a mistake, maybe even a time penalty for Formula Karim, it looks like he has that race win secured and Scott is going to have to settle for second. But still time to come, and there's contact there. Testwheel getting spun around. He's going to drop way down the order, losing position after position after position. Back over to our race leader though, Formula Karim gaining and gaining out on the race lead, and he looks set now. F1 Scott dropping even further back. The gap now 1 second to Cryzix. Looks like there's going to be nothing he can do now as they head into the final sector.
Formula Karim through the stadium section for the final time in Mexico. He started from the back of the grid. It was a brilliant drive in the sprint race, but to no avail as he came home in second place. He was the bridesmaid in that, but he's going to be the bride here, rounding the Piratella for the final time. The sky is the limit, as always, for Formula Karim, because he wins again in the F2 Creator Series. Cryzix just behind. F1 Scott inheriting second place, and it's Bushians, after returning to the Creator Series for the start of this season, has his first podium since his comeback.
Yeah, what a race there in the end. Lots of great action once again, as we saw in the sprint as well. Even without the wildcard, we still get some amazing racing. And it's Formula Karim, as we've seen all throughout the season. He comes out on top once again. F1 Scott matching his best finish of the season, picking up a P2 there. And as you said, Bushians onto the podium. Driver of the day, the game giving to Hayden Gullis. Pretty decent drive from him, coming from last, back up into the points, fighting his way through, and a very nice drive from himself.
Where did Hayden even finish? I didn't actually catch that one over the line. It must have made up a load of places right at the death to pick up driver of the day. But it is Formula Karim in the feature race for the 3rd time this season. Your victor as he holds the flag aloft on the podium. F1 Scott, another podium, another second place. He's getting ever closer to that first victory in the Creator Series. And a very, very welcome return to the podium for Bushy and Cryzix, missing out in the end by 4/10 of a second. That 3-second time penalty obviously proving very, very crucial.
Yeah, definitely those time penalties meant a lot come the checkered flag, deciding our final podium position, and in fact P2 as well. But there we go. There are your race results then. Formula Karim picking up the race win and the fastest lap as well. F1 Scott in P2. Bushians picks up P3. Cryzix dropping down to P4 after his 3-second time penalty. GB comes home in P5, then Emphatic in P6. Arseno P7. Adam Sanderson P8. Hayden Gullis P9 picking up the Driver of the Day award. Ultra Killer in P10. Then Zach RC. Duncan Hoodie Pete. Oh, I just clicked Race Director. Whoops. Duncan Hoodie Pete. Dan Moran, Danvers, Chesnoid, Testwheel, F1 Alex, and B-Roy. A couple of DNFs down at the bottom end of the field. That was F1 Alex and B-Roy. I think Testwheel retiring on the penultimate lap as well.
I reckon that race could break the record for the most penalties dished out in an F2 Creator Series race. I remember one at Zandvoort at the end of last season where everybody was picking up penalties under the sun. But yeah, we had 22 seconds, 13 seconds, a lot of 10-second penalties handed out as well. GB managing to come back really, really well from all the trials and tribulations he experienced to finish in position number 5 in the end. Infratic will be cursing that 3-second penalty. Was that partially my fault? Potentially. I said that his eyes will be wide open since he thinks he's about to inherit 3rd position, then goes and gets a 3-second penalty the instant that I say that, so I don't think he's going to be particularly happy with me. But his Formula Kareem, once again, he's pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget that GB had that drive-through earlier on in the race. Under the VSE, he was speeding, picked up a drive-through, and he's managed to come home to pick up P5. That is a really great result.
Definitely, yeah. Made some very nice overtakes indeed out there as well, and I think he'd be pretty happy overall with what happened there. We have got some interviews to conduct. Should we bring in the race leader, or the race winner, sorry, first of all? PSGL Joy to Kareem, as he is known.
Yeah, let's get him in now.
Kareem in once again, taking up that familiar position at the front of the field. Just summarise how you're feeling after that race.
Well, I think unbelievable. The sprint and the feature for me, that's best of the season for me. That was so much fun.
Yeah, had quite a few battles throughout that race. Coming through to take that race win. Just talk us through the strategy. Yeah, you opted for the soft compound tires early on. What was the thought process behind that one?
Well, my original plan was probably to start super softs, because I did a little bit of practice before, and the softs were rubbish. So I was going to pick the super softs, and then I saw everyone else on the super softs, including Kryzix, I think, because I knew he would be, the main person to win the race. So I thought, why not go for the alternate strategy? And then I got really lucky with the crashes, zigzagged my way through. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I wanted to start last. I ended up starting 13th, so I backed off. But yeah, super lucky with the safety car again. Second safety car, you could say hindered me, but I still managed to get the win in the end.
I want to go back to the sprint race, because that was some of the best battling that we've probably ever seen. Yourself, Alex Gillen, and we had Kryzix as well. You were knocking 10 bells out of each other for the majority of that race. What was the dynamic like there?
It was really interesting, actually, because, of course, nobody practices no rules F2 Mexico. Like, that just sounds insane. But you sort of have to guess where you're braking and guess where they'll brake. The wheel-to-wheel racing, you have no idea what's going to happen. And because you're traveling at such high speed, you're always millimeters away from an aeroplane crash. So you sort of just have to trust everyone else a little bit, but yeah, it all worked out in the end. It was so fun.
Yeah. What was your favourite moment throughout all that race? Was there any key battle you had that you would say was the highlight of the racing?
I would say, are we talking sprint or feature here? Sprint, definitely the fight for the win. That's hands down most fun I've had on this game in ages. Feature, I would say either Scott, because me and Scott had a really clean battle, or Kryzix, because that was the battle for the lead. And GG to him as well. He raced me cleanly.
Just final one from me as well. I want to talk about the tactics for that very final safety car restart, because Kryzix looked like he'd got you around the outside, but you seemed very intent on keeping your nose in there and trying to fight that all the way until you got down to turn number 4.
Yeah, so at that point, I think my super softs were like 10-15%. I knew they would start dropping off, even though we only had 2 laps left. So I knew I couldn't let him escape, and because he passed me, I couldn't risk letting Scott battle me and then he would just run away. So I had to send it. Luckily, I was close enough to send it. And yeah, I picked, I don't know if you noticed, I picked the same line that I did just before that safety car. We had a different battle when I first passed him. And I picked the same line because it worked once, so why wouldn't it work again,
Perfect strategy. Don't fix what ain't broken. Thank you again for talking to us. Pleasure as always. Another race win, 3rd feature win of the season. Yeah, best of luck for the rest of the season, Kareem.
No worries, guys. Thanks for the interview and have a good day.
You too. Thank you very much indeed.
Bye.
Race winner, little chat between us and him. And now we're going to bring in F1 Scott with another second place for his name. He's getting close. I can feel it coming for Scott. We're going to bring in the lovely Scotsman. F1 Scott, second place in the feature race, just missing out on that first feature race win. Sum up your emotions for us.
Will I ever win one of these races? I don't think so. I think I'll just keep having a good one and get second. But it was fun. Kryzix is awesome. I accidentally... I feel bad. I kind of gave him a penalty, like a warning. I kind of pushed. I was a bit naughty, but other than that, like it kind of worked for me. I don't know. I don't know if it was bad or not, but yeah.
Yeah.
How are you?
Sprint race didn't go too well for yourself. Just talk us through what happened there.
Look, I don't know if Dan Moran knew what we were doing, but I feel like he was following the turn to go through turn one and turn two, and he just kind of went right, and I went straight into him, and that was me done.
We wondered if somebody was going to do that. We thought it might have been the driver on pole just reverting to type and taking the normal run. I have to say, I do have faith this win is coming, because if you look at your results this season, this is probably the most consistent you have been performance-wise throughout an F2 campaign. Do you have a reason for that? Are you feeling particularly comfortable with these cars?
The new update was awesome. It's kind of brought me back into playing F1 24 a bit more, because I enjoy these cars. They're just really fun. Even with medium traction, it's just, you just drive and have fun. And everyone else seems to be doing well, and it's like just fun battles. It's just great fun. As long as I need to start just putting Kareem in the wall, and then maybe I can do this.
Yeah, you had a lot of good battles throughout that feature race as well. What would you say was your highlights of the feature race, though?
Kryzix, he's awesome. He's always quick, though. So anytime you're battling with him, it's fun. And waiting to see who... So I felt like I nailed the strat, because I was like, someone's going to have a rubbish race, and they're going to go into the wall and cause a safety car. And it's going to be later on into the race. And I was kind of right. So I got to go on those super softs at the end, and it was so much easier.
Well, thank you again, F1 Scott, for joining us. Pleasure as always. We know the win is coming. You won't be the bridesmaid forever in the F2 Creator Series. But again, pleasure as always, and we wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season.
That's awesome. Have a nice night. Well done.
Cheers, Scott.
They're going to kick me out? Or no?
Oh, we can kick you out. There you go. See you later, Scott. Bye, Scott. Well, that, I think, is us done for the day. Really, really enjoyable one. The wildcard, I was a massive fan of some of the best racing I think we've ever seen in the F2 Creator Series. Could potentially argue some of the best we've seen in the Creator Series as a whole. And then the feature race going back and forth. A lot of safety cars, a lot of strategical dynamics at play there. I think it was a really, really good introduction to the Mexico City Grand Prix in Formula 2 cars.
Yeah, definitely. It's some of the best racing we've seen all season, to be honest. So much action all over the track. Sure, a move happening at pretty much every single corner. And it really shows how great these F2 cars are for racing as well.
And to finish us off, Josh, where can everybody check you out if they want to see what you're up to after this race?
Yeah, if you want to hear more of my commentary, you can head over to the STRL official Twitch channel. That's where you will find me commentating most of the time, Mondays and Wednesdays.
Everybody get on board with that. And if you want to see what I am up to, TikTok wilco.darts if you're a fan of some men throwing some sticks at a paperboard on the wall. Head over there, and I would very much appreciate a follow. But thank you everybody who has joined us for this race. Absolute pleasure as always to bring it to you. And until next time, remember, get involved for the F1 race taking place tomorrow at 5 o'clock, an hour early, so we don't clash with the main F1 race. I've been Tom, Josh's been alongside me. Thank you very much again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.